Captain Sarah Chen watched the warning lights flash red across her control panel. Her small research ship, the Discovery, was dying around her. The engine had exploded 3 hours ago, and now she was drifting through empty space with no power and failing life support. Sarah tried the radio again. "This is Captain Chen of the Earth vessel Discovery. Emergency situation. Anyone out there?" Only static answered her. She was too far from Earth for anyone to hear her calls for help. The Rio, nearest human colony, was months away, even at full speed. Her ship could not move at all. The air was getting thin. Sarah could feel it with each breath. The recycling system had stopped working when the engine blew up. She had maybe 6 hours of air left, if she was lucky. After that, she would slowly fall asleep and never wake up. Sarah was not afraid of dying. She was a space explorer. She knew the risks when she took this job. What made her sad was that she would never see her family again. Her sister back on Earth, her parents. They would never know what happened to her. She looked out the window at the stars. They were beautiful, but cold. No help would come from them. Sarah closed her eyes and tried to remember her sister's laugh. At least she could die thinking of good things. Then something moved outside her window. Sarah opened her eyes and pressed her face to the glass. There was a ship out there. It was small, about the size of her own vessel, but it looked nothing like human technology. The hull was smooth and curved, like it had been grown instead of built. Strange blue lights pulsed along its surface. The alien ship moved closer. Sarah's heart pounded. First contact with aliens. Every human had dreamed of this moment, but not like this. Not when she was dying and helpless. A new voice came through her radio. It sounded musical, with strange tones that went up and down like singing. Sarah could not understand the words, but she could hear the concern in the voice. These aliens had found her, and they were trying to talk to her. Sarah grabbed her radio. "This is Captain Sarah Chen. I'm human. My ship is broken and I'm running out of air. Can you help me?" The singing voice spoke again. Then Sarah heard clicking sounds, like the aliens were talking among themselves. Her radio crackled, and suddenly she heard words she could understand. We learn your words from your talking box. You are hurt?" Sarah almost cried with relief. They had somehow figured out her language from her radio signals. "Yes, I'm hurt. My ship has no power, no air. I will die soon if you can't help me." "We help. We try help. Stay calm. We come to you." Through her window, Sarah watched the alien ship move even closer. It was beautiful in a strange way. Now she could see that the blue lights were not just decoration. They seemed to be part of how the ship worked. As she watched, a tube extended from the alien ship toward hers. Sarah felt a bump as the tube connected to her ship's docking port. Then she heard new sounds, the hiss of air, the hum of power being restored. The aliens were sharing their life, support with her. The airlock door opened, and Sarah got her first look at an alien being. The creature was tall and thin, much more fragile looking than a human. Its skin was pale blue and seemed to glow softly. It had 4 arms instead of 2, and its head was larger than a human head, with big dark eyes that looked very intelligent. When it moved, it seemed to float rather than walk. Behind the first alien came 2 more. They all wore what looked like environmental suits, but the suits were as beautiful as their ship, smooth and organic looking. The first alien spoke, and Sarah heard the translation through her radio. "I am Navigator Veltan. We are Kethari. You are very sick, yes? Your body is wrong for space." Sarah nodded. "I'm dying. The explosion hurt me inside, and I've been breathing bad air for hours." Veltan's big eyes showed worry. "We try to fix you, but we do not know human bodies. We learn as we help." The other 2 aliens, Sarah thought of them as doctors, began examining her with strange tools that glowed and hummed. They spoke quickly to each other in their musical language. Sarah could tell they were concerned. "Your body makes heat wrong," Veltan explained, "and your blood is different from ours. We must change our healing machines to work on you. For the next hour, Sarah watched the Cathari work. They were clearly struggling. Their medical equipment was designed for their own bodies, not for humans. But they did not give up. They took apart their machines and rebuilt them. They shared their own medicine with her, even though they did not know if it would help or hurt. Sarah realized these beings were risking their own lives to save her. If their medicine was wrong for human bodies, it could kill her. If they used too much of their own life support helping her, they might not have enough to get home. "Why are you helping me?" Sarah asked. "You don't know me. I'm not even your species." Veltan looked at her with those big, kind eyes. "You were calling for help. We heard you. How could we not try to save you?" It was that simple for them. They heard someone in trouble, so they helped. It did not matter that she was alien. It did not matter that helping her put them in danger. After 2 more hours of work, the Cathari doctors said she was stable enough to travel. But there was a problem. Sarah's ship was too damaged to move, and the Cathari ship was too small to carry both crews safely. "We take you to our world," Veltan said. "But the trip is long and hard. We must use much power. We might not have enough food and air for everyone." Sarah started to protest. She could not let them risk their lives even more for her. But Veltan held up one of his 4 hands. "We already choose," he said. "We save you. That is what we do." The trip took 8 days. Sarah learned more about the Cathari during that time. They were explorers, like her. They traveled between stars, studying new worlds and learning about the universe. They were peaceful beings who had never fought a war in their entire history. But Sarah also learned they were in trouble. Veltan told her about the Hegemony, a group of aggressive alien species who took technology from peaceful races by force. The Hegemony wanted Cathari science and knowledge. They had already destroyed 3 Cathari colonies. "They will come to our homeworld soon," Veltan said, sadly. "We cannot fight them. We do not know how to make weapons. We only know how to heal and learn and explore." Sarah felt her heart break for these kind beings. They had saved her life, even though they were facing destruction themselves. They were too good for this universe, too pure. But Sarah was human. Humans knew about fighting. They knew about protecting the innocent. And they never forgot their debts. As the Cathari ship approached their beautiful blue and green world, Sarah made a silent promise. These beings had saved her when they could, have just ignored her distress call. They had risked everything for a stranger. Now it was time for humanity to return the favor. Sarah just had to figure out how to get a message to Earth before the Hegemony arrived. Time was running out, and she was the only human in this entire star system. But humans were good at impossible things. Sarah Chen was about to prove that. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Cathari Medical Center, looking out at their world. It was the most beautiful planet she had ever seen. 3 moons hung in the purple sky, and floating cities drifted through the clouds like dreams, made real. Everything was curved and smooth, grown rather than built. It looked like paradise. But paradise was about to be destroyed. "Your body heals well," said Dr. Yathara, checking Sarah's vital signs with a device that felt warm and alive in her hands. "Human healing is fast, much faster than Cathari healing. Your people are very strong." Sarah smiled at the gentle doctor. After 2 weeks on this world, she had learned to love the Cathari. They were everything humans tried to be but often failed at: kind, wise, peaceful, and always willing to help others. Even now, with their own destruction approaching, they spent their time caring for her. "How much time do we have?" Sarah asked. Yathara's large eyes grew sad. "The Council of Minds says perhaps 30 days, maybe 40. The Hegemony ships are moving slowly, stopping at each system to take what they want." Sarah had learned about the Hegemony over the past weeks. They were not just one species, but 5 different alien races that had joined together under military rule. They conquered peaceful worlds and stole their technology. They enslaved entire populations to work in their war factories. They turned every new discovery into a weapon. The Cathari had something the hegemony wanted very badly: their biotechnology. The Cathari could grow living ships that healed themselves. They could create medicines that worked on any species. They had learned to shape matter at the molecular level, creating anything they needed from basic elements. In the wrong hands, this technology could conquer the galaxy. "We could run," Ithara said quietly. "Load our people onto ships and find new homes far away. But the hegemony would follow us. They always follow. And we cannot abandon our research. Thousands of years of knowledge. Cures for diseases. Technologies that could help everyone. If the hegemony takes it, they will use it only for war." Sarah nodded. She understood the problem. The Cathari were too good to run away and let evil win, but they were also too peaceful to fight back. They had no weapons, no soldiers, no knowledge of war. Their ships were designed for exploration, not battle. "What about asking other species for help?" Sarah suggested. "We tried," Ithara said. "The few peaceful races like us are too weak or too far away. The strong races either fear the hegemony or want to join them. We are alone." But they were not alone anymore. They had Sarah. "I need to send a message to my people," Sarah said. "Humans know how to fight. We're good at it, maybe too good sometimes, but we use our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Ithara looked hopeful but confused. "Your home is very far away. Even if they wanted to help, how could they get here in time? And why would they risk their lives for us? We are strangers to them." Sarah took the doctor's delicate hand in hers. "You saved my life when you didn't have to. You risked everything for a stranger. That makes you family to us. Humans always protect family." That evening, Sarah met with the Council of Minds, the leaders of the Cathari people. They gathered in a great hall that seemed to be carved from a single enormous crystal. The walls glowed with soft light, and the air hummed with peaceful energy. Navigator Veltan was there, along with 12 other Cathari who led their civilization. They all had the same large, intelligent eyes and the same gentle manner. Even facing destruction, they spoke quietly and calmly. "Captain Chen," said Elder Tysandra, the oldest and wisest of the Cathari, "we are honored by your presence. You wish to contact your people?" "Yes," Sarah said. "But I need your most powerful transmitter, and I need to send the message in a way the hegemony cannot trace or block." The council exchanged glances. Sarah could tell they were communicating in some way she could not detect. Maybe telepathy or just looks that meant something to their species. "We have such technology," Elder Tysandra said slowly. "But using it will tell the hegemony exactly where we are. They will come faster." "How much faster? Instead of 30 days, perhaps 20? Sarah nodded grimly. That made the choice harder, but it did not change her mind. 20 days might be enough if my people move quickly. Without the message, you have no hope at all." Veltan spoke up. "Captain Chen, even if your people receive the message, why would they come? We cannot offer them anything valuable. We have no trade goods, no strategic advantages. We are just researchers and explorers who want to live in peace." Sarah stood up, and for the first time since arriving on this world, she let her human nature show. Her voice became hard and strong, and her eyes burned with the fire that had carried humanity to the stars. "You saved one of us," she said. "When my ship was dying and I was calling for help in the darkness, you heard me. You could have ignored my signals. You could have decided it was too dangerous to help. You could have just felt sorry for me and moved on." Sarah began pacing, her human energy filling the peaceful hall. "But you didn't do any of those things. You risked your own lives to save a stranger. You shared your food, your air, your medicine. You brought me into your homes and healed my injuries. You treated me like family from the first moment we met." The Cathari listened, their large eyes following her movements. "That means something. To humans," Sarah continued. "When someone shows that kind of kindness, that kind of courage, we remember it. We don't forget our debts, and we don't abandon people who prove they're worth saving." She stopped pacing and looked directly at Elder Thesiandra. You want to know why humans would risk their lives for you? Because you're the kind of people we want in this galaxy. You're the kind of people who make the universe better just by existing. And if we let the hegemony destroy you, we lose something precious that we can never get back. Elder Thysandra was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. The first time Sarah had seen a Cathari show such strong emotion. Very well, Captain Chen. We will send your message. But you must understand, if your people cannot come, or if they arrive too late, you will die with us. Are you willing to take that risk? Sarah thought of her sister back on Earth, her parents, her friends. She might never see them again. But she also thought of Veltan, who had saved her life, of Dr. Ithara, who had healed her injuries, of this entire gentle, wonderful civilization that was about to be wiped out by bullies and killers. Yes, she said, I'm willing to take that risk. 3 hours later, Sarah stood in the communications center of the Cathari capital city. The transmitter was unlike anything humans had built, a living crystal that pulsed with energy and seemed to reach across space with tentacles of light. The message will take 5 days to reach your home, Veltan explained. If they send ships immediately, they could arrive in 12 to 15 days. Sarah nodded and activated the recording device. She had one chance to get this right. One chance to convince Earth to send their entire fleet to save a species they had never met. She took a deep breath and began to speak. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the research vessel Discovery, speaking to Earth Command and the Terran Council. I am alive and well, rescued by an alien species called the Cathari. But I am calling for help. These people saved my life when they could have left me to die in space. Now they face extinction at the hands of a military alliance called the Hegemony. The Cathari cannot fight back. They are peaceful explorers and scientists. They have never made weapons or fought wars. Sarah paused, thinking of everything she had learned about these wonderful people. The Cathari represent the best of what we hope to find among the stars. They are kind, wise, and brave in their own way. They risk everything to help strangers. They share their knowledge freely. They have never conquered or enslaved anyone. The galaxy needs people like this. She looked out the window at the floating cities, at the beauty these people had created through centuries of peace and learning. I know Earth is far away. I know we barely have enough ships for our own defense. But if we let the hegemony destroy the Cathari, we lose something precious. We lose proof that civilizations can be better than we are. We lose allies who could teach us to be better than we are. Sarah's voice grew stronger as she continued. The Cathari saved one human because it was the right thing to do. Now I'm asking humanity to return the favor. Not because we owe them a debt, though we do. Not because we need their technology, though it could help us. But because saving good people from bad people is what humans do. It's who we are at our best. She ended the recording and turned to Veltan. Now we wait, she said. And we hope that humanity is everything I told them it is. The message shot out into space, carrying Sarah's words toward Earth. Somewhere behind them, the hegemony fleet was getting closer, bringing death and slavery to this peaceful world. Sarah had done everything she could. Now it was up to her people to prove that humans never abandoned their friends. Admiral Marcus Torres stood in the center of the Terran Command Center, watching the recording for the third time. Around him, the most important people in human space sat in stunned silence. Sarah Chen's message had arrived 6 hours ago, and the debate had been fierce ever since. Run it again, said Counselor Williams, her face pale with worry. We've all heard it 3 times already, Admiral Torres replied, but he nodded to the technician anyway. Sarah's voice filled the room once more, telling them about the Cathari and their approaching doom. When the message ended, the room erupted in arguments. It's impossible, said General Morrison, slamming his hand on the table. We barely have enough ships to protect our own colonies. Chen is asking us to send our entire fleet to the other side of the galaxy to fight an enemy we know nothing about. The Cathari saved her life, Counselor Davis pointed out. Doesn't that mean anything? Of course it means something, General Morrison shot back. But we can't risk the safety of billions of humans for one species of aliens. What if this hegemony decides to attack Earth next? What if we lose our entire fleet in some hopeless battle? Admiral Torres listened to the arguments without speaking. He'd been thinking about Sarah's message since it arrived. He knew every word by heart now, but it was not the words that convinced him. It was what he heard between the words. "Admiral," said Counselor Williams, "you've been quiet. What do you think?" Torres stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over Earth's capital city. Millions of people lived down there, going about their daily lives, never knowing that the fate of an entire alien civilization was being decided in this room. "I think," Torres said slowly, "that this is the most important decision humanity has ever made." He turned back to face the council. "Not because of the Cathari, though they sound like good people. Not because we owe them a debt, though we do, but because of what this decision says about who we are." General Morrison frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean that for centuries humans have told ourselves stories about what we would do if we met aliens. We imagined ourselves as the brave explorers who would make friends with peaceful species and protect them from hostile ones. We dreamed of being the good guys in a galaxy full of conflicts." Torres walked around the table, looking each council member in the eye. "Well, now we get to find out if those stories were true. Here is a peaceful species that saved one of our people. Here is an evil empire that wants to destroy them. Here is our chance to be the heroes we always said we would be." "But the cost," Counselor Williams protested. "We would have to send every available ship, every trained pilot. If we lose, Earth would be defenseless." "If we don't go," Torres replied, "we might as well disband our military right now, because what good is having ships and weapons if we only use them to protect ourselves? What good is having power if we never use it to help others?" The debate continued for hours. Some council members worried about the military risks. Others worried about the cost. Sending the entire fleet would bankrupt the human colonies for years. A few even questioned whether Sarah's message was real, or if it might be some kind of trap. But Admiral Torres kept coming back to one simple fact. The Cathari had saved Sarah when they did not have to. That single act of kindness had started a chain of events that could change the galaxy. "There's something else," Torres said when the room finally grew quiet. "Something we haven't talked about yet." "What's that?" asked Counselor Davis. "This hegemony has been conquering peaceful species for years. The Cathari are just their latest target. If we let them succeed, how long before they come for us? How long before they decide that human technology looks interesting?" The room went silent. Everyone understood what Torres was saying. The hegemony was not just a threat to the Cathari. They were a threat to every peaceful civilization in the galaxy. Better to fight them now, far from Earth alongside allies, Torres continued. Better to stop them while we still can, before they get stronger. General Morrison shook his head. "You're assuming we can win. We don't know anything about their ships, their weapons, their tactics. We could be flying into a massacre." "You're right," Torres admitted. "We don't know if we can win. But I know something else. We can't win if we don't try. And I'd rather die fighting for something good than live knowing I let evil triumph because I was afraid." The vote was close. 7 council members voted to send the fleet, 5 voted against. It was just enough. Within hours, every human military base in the galaxy received the same message. All ships to assemble at Luna Station, Priority Alpha. This is not a drill. Captain Elena Vasquez was commanding a patrol cruiser near the Jupiter colonies when the order came through. She had never seen a Priority Alpha alert before. Her crew gathered on the bridge, confused and worried. "What's going on, Captain?" asked her first officer. "I don't know yet," Vasquez replied, "but we're about to find out." The journey to Luna Station took 3 days. As Vasquez's ship approached Earth's moon, she could not believe what she saw. Ships were coming from everywhere. Military cruisers, cargo haulers that had been fitted with weapons, even luxury yachts that had volunteered for combat duty. Luna Station had never seen so many ships in one place. The orbital facility was designed to handle maybe 50 vessels at once. Now there were over 300, with more arriving every hour. "This is Commander Sarah Mitchell of the battleship Endeavour," came a voice over the radio. "All ship commanders report to Conference Room Alpha for briefing." The briefing room was packed with captains, commanders, and pilots from across human space. Some were career military officers. Others were merchant captains who had volunteered their ships for the mission. A few were asteroid miners who had strapped weapons to their cargo haulers and come to help. Admiral Torres stood at the front of the room, looking tired but determined. Behind him was a large display showing a star map with a route marked in red. "Ladies and gentlemen," Torres began, "thank you all for coming. What I'm about to tell you may sound impossible, but it's true." He played Sarah Chen's message for the assembled captains. The room was dead silent as they listened to her description of the Cathari and their approaching doom. When the message ended, Torres continued, "We have 15 days to get to the Cathari system. It's the longest fleet movement in human history. Many of our ships are not designed for such a journey. Some of you may not make it." A captain near the back raised her hand. "Admiral, with respect, why should we risk everything for aliens we've never met?" Torres had expected this question. He had asked it himself many times over the past few days. "Because," he said, "this is our chance to prove that humans are more than just another violent species fighting for resources. This is our chance to show the galaxy that we stand for something better." He walked closer to the assembled captains. The Cathari could have ignored Sarah's distress call. They could have decided it was too dangerous to help, but they didn't. They risked their own lives to save a stranger because it was the right thing to do. Torres's voice grew stronger. Now they're facing extinction, and they have no one else to turn to. If we abandon them, we're saying that kindness is weakness. We're saying that good people deserve to die while bullies rule the galaxy. Captain Vasquez stood up. "What about Earth, Admiral? If we lose, our home is defenseless." "If we lose," Torres replied, "Earth is doomed anyway. The hegemony won't stop with the Cathari. They'll keep conquering until someone stops them. Better to fight them now, while we have allies, than wait for them to come to us." One by one, the captains began to understand. This was not just about saving the Cathari. This was about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. Captain Marcus Webb of the heavy cruiser Defiant stood up. "I'm in, Admiral. My ship and crew are ready." "So are we," said Captain Vasquez. "Count us in too," called out the captain of a converted cargo hauler. Soon the entire room was standing, pledging their ships and crews to the rescue mission. Torres felt a surge of pride in his species. When it mattered most, humans chose to do the right thing. The fleet began moving that same day. 347 ships of every size and type carrying the hopes of two civilizations. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, and it was heading into unknown danger to save people they had never met. As Earth fell behind them, Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the stars ahead. Somewhere, out there, Sarah Chen was waiting with the Cathari for help that might never come. Somewhere out there, the hegemony was closing in on their next victims. Torres activated the fleet-wide communications. "All ships, this is Admiral Torres. We are now committed to this course. There is no turning back. In 15 days, we will either save the Cathari civilization or die trying. Either way, we will show the galaxy what humans are made of." The fleet pushed through hyperspace at maximum speed, racing against time. Behind them, Earth held its breath. Ahead of them, a small blue world waited for salvation. Sarah Chen had asked humanity to prove that they were everything she said they were. Now they would find out if her faith in her people was justified. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened a friend of humanity. They would learn that humans never forgot their debts. They would learn that humans always came back for family, and they would learn that anyone who saved one Sarah Chen stood in the Cathari war room, though calling it a war room felt wrong. These gentle people had never planned for war. Their beautiful crystalline chamber had been hastily converted from a place where they discussed exploration missions into a place where they planned for survival. The hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace 1 hour ago, reported Scout Captain Veltan, his normally calm voice tight with worry. 230 ships. They are moving toward our world slowly, scanning everything. Sarah studied the display that showed the approaching enemy fleet. The hegemony ships looked nothing like the elegant Cathari vessels. They were angular, aggressive, covered in weapons and armor. They looked exactly like what they were, tools of conquest and destruction. How long until they reached the planet? Sarah asked. 6 hours at their current speed, replied Elder Thysandra. They are taking their time. They want to study our defenses before they attack. Sarah almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. The Cathari had no defenses. Their ships were designed for exploration, not fighting. Their cities had no shields or weapons. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to prepare for war. We need to change that, Sarah said. 6 hours is not much time, but it's enough to give them a surprise. Over the past week, since the hegemony fleet had been detected approaching their system, Sarah had worked with the brightest Cathari scientists to prepare for this moment. It had been like trying to teach mathematics to artists or poetry to engineers. The Cathari understood energy and matter and living systems, but they had never thought about using that knowledge to hurt people. Sarah had to teach them. "Show me what we've prepared," she said. Dr. Yathara activated a new display. "We have converted 12 exploration ships into weapons platforms. It was difficult. Our people do not like to think about causing harm, even to those who wish to harm us." Sarah nodded. She understood their reluctance. These people were so peaceful that even preparing to defend themselves felt like betraying their nature. But sometimes good people had to do hard things to protect what mattered. "What about the orbital stations?" Sarah asked. "We have equipped them with disruption fields," said Engineer Cole West. "They cannot stop the hegemony ships, but they might confuse their sensors and targeting systems. And the ground defenses? We have hidden our most important research facilities underground," reported Civil Coordinator Merlin. "If the surface cities fall, our knowledge will survive. Maybe someone will find it someday and use it for good instead of evil." Sarah felt her heart break a little. Even facing destruction, the Cathari were thinking about how to help future generations. They could not imagine that they might actually survive this attack, but Sarah could imagine it. She had to. "There's something else," she said. "Something I haven't told you about yet." The Cathari leaders looked at her with their large, trusting eyes. They had put their faith in this strange human who had dropped into their lives, and Sarah felt the weight of that trust. "I sent a message to my people 2 weeks ago. I asked them to come help you." Elder Thysandra blinked slowly. "Your people? But they are so far away. Even if they wanted to help us, they could not arrive in time." "Maybe," Sarah admitted. "Maybe not. Humans are stubborn. When we decide to do something, we find a way to do it, and we don't abandon our friends." Velton tilted his head. "You truly believe they will come?" Sarah thought about Admiral Torres, whom she had served under years ago. She thought about the human colonies that had sent rescue ships across impossible distances to save stranded crews. She thought about her own species' long history of standing up to bullies, even when the odds were hopeless. "Yes," she said, "I believe they will come. But we have to survive long enough for them to get here. We have to hold out." The first hegemony ships entered orbit around the Cathari homeworld 3 hours later. Sarah watched from the command center as the enemy fleet took positions above their cities. The alien warships were massive, each one larger than anything the Cathari had ever built. "Incoming transmission," reported Communications Officer Dex Iron. The main display showed the bridge of a hegemony ship. The creature speaking was one of the Vortak, a reptilian species with scales like armor and eyes like black holes. Behind him, Sarah could see other hegemony species, the insectoid Skexri, the mechanical Rengol, and others she did not recognize. "Cathari of this world," the Vortak commander spoke, his voice like grinding stone. "I am War Captain Grixoth of the hegemony fleet. You have something we want. Your biotechnology will serve the hegemony well." Elder Thysandra stepped forward, her gentle voice carrying clearly through the transmission. War Captain, we greet you in peace. Our knowledge is freely shared with all who ask. You do not need to take it by force. Grixoth laughed, a harsh sound that made several Cathari flinch. Freely shared? We do not want your charity, plant growers. We want your surrender. Give us your technology and your scientists, and we will allow your people to live as workers, in our minds. And if we refuse? Elder Thysandra asked, though Sarah could see that the question pained her. Then we will take what we want from the ruins of your cities. Choose quickly. You have 1 hour. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. We cannot surrender, said Dr. Yathara quietly. If the hegemony gets our biotechnology, they will use it to conquer other peaceful worlds. The death and suffering would be enormous. But we cannot fight them either, said Veltan. Look at their fleet. Look at our ships. We are scholars and explorers facing an army. Sarah stepped into the center of the room. Then we don't fight them ship to ship. We fight them smart. For the next hour, Sarah explained her plan. It was desperate and dangerous, but it was their only chance. The Cathari listened with growing amazement as this human outlined tactics they had never imagined. You want us to trick them? Asked Engineer Colwest. Humans call it guerrilla warfare, Sarah explained. When you can't win by being stronger, you win by being smarter. You hit the enemy where they don't expect it, then disappear before they can hit back. When the hour was up, Elder Thysandra sent their reply to War Captain Grixoth. We choose to remain free. The bombardment began immediately. Hegemony ships opened fire on the floating cities, their energy weapons cutting through the beautiful crystalline structures like knives through flowers. But the cities had been evacuated. The Cathari had moved, underground, taking their most important knowledge with them. Phase 1 is working, Sarah reported as she watched the tactical display. They're destroying empty buildings while our people are safe below. But Phase 1 was just the beginning. As the hegemony ships moved closer to the planet to increase their bombardment, Sarah's converted Cathari ships struck from hiding places among the moons and asteroid fields. The attacks were quick and precise. A converted research vessel would appear behind a hegemony ship, fire its new weapons at the engine section, then disappear back into hyperspace before the enemy could respond. Another ship would target the communication arrays of a different vessel, cutting it off from the fleet. Impossible, roared War Captain Grixoth over the communications channel. These are explorers. They do not know how to fight. But they were, learning fast. Under Sarah's guidance, the Cathari discovered they had a natural talent for the indirect approach. Their ships were fast and maneuverable. Their knowledge of the local system was perfect. And their ability to coordinate without radio communications, something Sarah still did not fully understand, made them unpredictable. For 6 days, the siege continued. The hegemony fleet grew more frustrated as their overwhelming advantage was slowly chipped away by an enemy they could not pin down. They had come expecting easy conquest and found instead a war of shadows and surprises. But Sarah knew they could not hold out forever. The Cathari were not warriors, and the strain was showing. They had lost 3 of their converted ships, and several more were badly damaged. Worse, the hegemony was learning to adapt to their tactics. Sarah, said Veltan, entering the command center with exhaustion clear in his large eyes. Our attack on the hegemony supply convoy failed. They were waiting for us. We lost the research vessel Gentle Current and all hands. Sarah closed her eyes. 15 Cathari had died on that ship, 15 gentle souls who had never wanted to hurt anyone. They had died because Sarah had asked them to fight. How many ships do we have left, she asked. 7 that can still fight. The others are too damaged. 7 ships against over 200. Sarah felt despair creeping into her heart. They had done their best, but it was not enough. The hegemony was simply too strong. There's something else, Veltan said quietly. War Captain Grixoth has threatened to start executing civilian prisoners if we don't surrender. He has captured 300 of our people from the outer settlements. Sarah felt rage burn through her. These monsters were not content with military conquest. They wanted to break the Cathari spirit by threatening innocents. How long do we have? She asked. He says one day, if we don't surrender by tomorrow, he will start killing 10 prisoners every hour until we do. Sarah Chen stood in the ruins of what had been the most beautiful command center in the galaxy. Broken crystal covered the floor, and smoke drifted through holes in the walls where hegemony bombardment had found its mark. She clutched a portable scanner in her hand, still searching the empty space at the edge of the system. Nothing. Just stars and darkness. Sarah, said Veltan, his voice heavy with defeat. It is time. War Captain Grixoth will begin executing prisoners in 1 hour. If we do not surrender. Sarah looked around at the remaining Kithari leaders. Elder Thysandra sat with her head bowed, her normally glowing skin dim with exhaustion. Dr. Yathara tended to wounded civilians who had been caught in the latest bombardment. Engineer Call West worked frantically to repair their failing defenses, but everyone knew it was hopeless. They had fought for a week with courage that surprised even Sarah. These gentle people had learned to be warriors when they had no choice. But 7 damaged ships could not hold off an entire fleet forever. Maybe, Sarah said quietly, maybe my people couldn't make it in time. Maybe the distance was too great, or they couldn't spare the ships. She felt like she was betraying her own species by saying it, but the evidence was clear. The sensors showed no sign of approaching human ships. Earth had either decided not to come, or they would arrive too late to matter. You did everything you could, Elder Thysandra said, lifting her head to look at Sarah with those large, kind eyes. You taught us to fight. You gave us hope. You showed us that there are good people in the galaxy who will stand up to evil. That knowledge will survive, even if we do not. Sarah wanted to scream. These people were too good for this universe. They deserved to live, to continue their peaceful exploration of the stars, to share their knowledge and kindness with other species. Instead, they would be enslaved or killed because they had been generous enough to save one lost human. I should surrender myself, Sarah said suddenly. Tell Grixoth that I'm the one who taught you to fight. Maybe he'll leave you alone if he gets the human who caused him so much trouble. No, said Veltan firmly. We will not trade your life for a few more hours of freedom. We stand together, or we fall together. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. Even facing the end, the Kithari were thinking about protecting others instead of themselves. The communication system crackled to life. War Captain Grixoth's ugly face appeared on the damaged display screen. Well, plant growers, have you decided to be reasonable? I have 300 of your people ready to die for your stubbornness. Their blood will be on your hands if you do not surrender now. Elder Thysandra stood slowly, preparing to give the surrender that would doom her people to slavery. Sarah closed her eyes, unable to watch the moment when evil triumphed over good. Then Engineer Cole West screamed, Contact! Multiple contacts on long-range sensors. Ships dropping out of hyperspace at the system edge. Sarah's eyes snapped open. She grabbed the scanner and pointed it toward the coordinates Cole West was reading out. For a moment, she saw nothing. Then space began to fill with ships. Dozens of ships. Hundreds of ships. More ships than Sarah had ever seen in one place. Human ships, she whispered, then louder. Human ships! It's the Earth fleet. The Kithari command center erupted in amazed voices. On the display, War Captain Grixoth was shouting orders to his officers, demanding to know where these new ships had come from. Sarah activated the human communication frequencies and heard the most beautiful sound in the galaxy, Admiral Torres's voice. This is Admiral Marcus Torres of the Terran Fleet, broadcasting to all ships in this system. We are here for Captain Sarah Chen and the Kithari people. Any hostile forces in this area have one chance to withdraw peacefully. Sarah grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. Admiral Torres, this is Sarah Chen. The Kithari are under attack by a force called the Hegemony. 200+ ships, heavily armed. They've taken prisoners. Copy that, Captain Chen. We see them. Message 2. Hegemony forces. You have something that belongs to us. Stand down and release all prisoners immediately. War Captain Grixoth's image reappeared on the Kithari screens. His reptilian features were twisted with rage and confusion. What is this? Who are these new ships? This system is under hegemony control. Admiral Torres's reply came over all frequencies. This system is under the protection of the human colonial fleet. You are in violation of interstellar law and common decency. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Grixoth laughed, though it sounded forced. Humans? I have never heard of your species. You cannot threaten the hegemony with 200 ships. 200? Torres sounded amused. Who said anything about 200? On the long-range display, more ships continued to drop out of hyperspace. The human fleet kept growing. 300 ships, 400, 500. Every vessel that Earth could spare, every cargo hauler that could mount weapons, every volunteer ship that had answered the call. Impossible, Grixoth breathed. No one has fleets this size. No one risks everything for strangers. You're about to learn something about humans, Torres replied. We don't like bullies. And we really don't like people who threaten our friends. The human fleet began moving toward the planet, their formation perfect despite the different types of ships. Sarah watched in amazement as Earth's entire Space Force advanced to save people they had never met. Admiral, she radioed, the hegemony has taken Cathari prisoners. They're threatening to execute them. Not on my watch, Torres replied grimly. All ships, this is Admiral Torres. Priority 1, secure those prisoner transports. Priority 2, disable hegemony weapons. Priority 3, send them home crying to their mothers. What followed was the most one-sided battle in galactic history. The hegemony had expected to fight the Cathari, peaceful explorers with no military experience. Instead, they faced humanity, a species that had been perfecting the art of war for thousands of years. Human ships moved with deadly precision, their crews trained in tactics the hegemony had never encountered. They used the asteroid belt as cover, appearing from behind rocks to strike and vanish. They coordinated their attacks with split-second timing, overwhelming individual hegemony ships before moving to the next target. Most importantly, they fought with a fury that surprised everyone, including Sarah. These humans had traveled across the galaxy to protect strangers, and they were taking the job personally. Human ship, this is Hegemony Cruiser Dominator, came a panicked voice over the radio. We surrender, we surrender. Surrender accepted, replied Captain Vasquez of the cruiser Independence. Cut your weapons and prepare to be boarded. And if you've hurt any of those prisoners, we're going to be very unhappy with you. One by one, hegemony ships either surrendered or fled the system. Those that tried to fight found themselves outnumbered and outgunned. The humans had brought everything: battleships, fighters, converted cargo vessels bristling with improvised weapons. It was not a battle. It was a rescue mission with extreme prejudice. War Captain Grixoth's flagship tried to run, but 3 human cruisers cut off his escape route. This is not possible, he raged over the open channel. No species risks their entire fleet for aliens they do not know. Admiral Torres's reply was calm and certain. You saved one of ours. That makes you family. And humans always come back for family. Within 6 hours, the hegemony fleet was destroyed or scattered. The prisoner transports were secured, and every captured Cathari was freed unharmed. The bullies who had terrorized peaceful species for decades had met their match in humanity's stubborn refusal to let evil win. Sarah stood on the observation deck of Admiral Torres' flagship, looking down at the Cathari homeworld. The floating cities were rising from their hiding places, their crystal spires gleaming in the light of 3 moons. Cathari and human ships worked together to repair the damage from the siege. I can't believe you came, she said to Torres. The whole fleet, everything Earth had. Torres smiled. Did you really think we wouldn't? You sent us a message about people who saved one human life because it was the right thing to do. What did you expect us to do? Send a thank you card? But the risk, Sarah protested. If you had lost, Earth would have been defenseless. If we had stayed home, Torres replied, we would have lost something more important than ships. We would have lost our souls. Below them, Cathari and human engineers worked side by side, sharing technology and ideas. The Cathari biotechnology that the hegemony had wanted to steal was being freely given to humans, while human defensive systems were being installed around Cathari worlds. What happens now? Sarah asked. Now we make sure this never happens. Again, Torres said. The Cathari are under human protection. Any species that threatens them will answer to us, and we're going to find other peaceful civilizations that need help. The galaxy has been ruled by bullies for too long. Veltan approached them, his usually graceful movement slightly clumsy in the human ship's gravity. Captain Chen, Admiral Torres, the Council of Minds wishes to thank you. We do not understand why your people risked so much for strangers. Sarah and Torres exchanged glances. How could they explain humanity to people who had never known cruelty or hatred? Because, Sarah said finally, you showed us what we want to be. When you saved my life, you proved that kindness still exists in the universe. We,